My name is Sedated, and I have been a senior medical officer aboard the Galactic Union Hospital ship, Meridian's Grace, for 31 standard cycles. I have treated Kelvari patients whose bones dissolved when exposed to oxygen. I have operated on a Pluan warrior whose second heart was beating inside its left shoulder. I have even, on one unforgettable occasion, performed emergency surgery on a creature that had no fixed body shape and kept rearranging its organs mid-procedure. Nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for human patient designation, Kael Morrow. It started, as most catastrophes do, very quietly. The distress signal came from a small, unmarked human vessel drifting at the edge of the Cassavane Nebula. Standard recovery protocol. We pulled it in, opened the hatch, and found one human male, unconscious, with a hull fragment the size of my forearm buried inside his left torso. My assistant, young Fira Doss, looked at the wound, looked at me, and said, with genuine sincerity, "He is already dead. We should log him and move on." I said, "Fira, his hand just moved." She looked again. The hand moved again. We stared at each other for a very long moment. Then the human coughed. Now, I want to be clear about something. The object inside this man was not a small piece of debris. It had pierced through his left lung, nicked his heart lining, and was resting comfortably against his spine like it had paid rent and decided to stay. By any biological standard I had studied, by any textbook written in any language across 47 known species, this being should not have been breathing. And yet, there he was. Breathing. We rushed him into surgery immediately. I will spare you the graphic details, except to say that when we finally removed the fragment, it made a sound. A wet, reluctant sound. Like the metal itself was surprised to be leaving. His vitals were catastrophic. His blood pressure was somewhere between critical and why are we even measuring this? His oxygen levels were a bad joke. His heart rhythm looked like someone had handed a small child a drawing pen and said, "Go ahead. Have fun." We stabilized him. Somehow. We administered a sedative compound, Sedative, which is strong enough to keep a full-grown Theran bull unconscious for 8 standard hours. For a human of his size, our calculation suggested 12 to 16 hours of deep sedation. Fira patched his lung. I repaired the heart lining. We sealed everything up, bandaged it properly, ran 3 separate neural scans, and declared the surgery a success. Then we went to get something to eat. We deserved it. It had been a horrifying 2 hours. We were gone for exactly 40 minutes. When we came back, the bed was empty. Not, the patient had been moved, empty. Not, someone transferred him, empty. The bed was empty, the restraints had been pushed aside, and there were bloody boot prints leading toward the corridor. Fira stood there holding her food tray with an expression I had never seen on a Veresi face before. It was somewhere between professional horror and personal offense. "He was under Sedative, she said, slowly. "Yes," I said. Sedative, she repeated, pointing at the empty bed, "that Sedative. Yes, that one. He should be unconscious for 12 more hours. Yes, he should." We followed the boot prints. Now, here is where I must explain something about the layout of Meridian's Grace. This is a large ship. 17 medical wards, 6 surgery bays, 2 intensive recovery wings, and a central command bridge that is, under all regulations, strictly off-limits to patients. The boot prints went straight toward the bridge. I want you to understand the institutional implications of that sentence. The bridge of this ship requires 3 separate keycard authorizations, a biometric scan, and a vocal passcode that changes every 6 hours. It is, theoretically, inaccessible to anyone who does not belong there. Theoretically. We found Kael Morrow standing at the navigation console on the bridge, in a hospital gown, with one arm still wrapped in surgical bandaging, talking to our senior pilot, Dren Oka, like they were old friends at a bar somewhere. Dren Oka, who has a reputation for being immovable and professionally cold, was laughing. Actually laughing. I pushed through the door and said, loudly, "How did you get in here?" Kael Morrow turned around. He had the kind of face that looked like it had seen too many things and decided to find all of them funny. Blue eyes. A jaw that had clearly been broken at least twice and healed slightly wrong. A smile that had no business being on a man who had been in surgery 2 hours ago. He looked at me, looked at Fira, looked at his own bandaged arm, and said, very casually, "Your door locks are based on Ration for architecture. I know how to get through those. Also, your sedative wore off." Fira set her food tray down on the nearest surface. Very gently. Very carefully. "It wore off," she said. "About 20 minutes in," he confirmed, nodding helpfully. "I didn't want to bother anyone. You all looked busy." I opened my mouth. I closed it. I opened it again. "You were in surgery," I said. "You had a hull fragment inside your heart lining. You should be in a medically induced coma right now." He tilted his head slightly and said, "Yeah, that sounds about right. You got anything to eat?" "I'm starving." Fira looked at me. I looked at Fira. Dren Oka, still smiling, gestured to the empty co-pilot seat and said, "I already offered him ration packs. He ate 4. 4, I repeated. "He asked for a 5th, Dren added, in the tone of someone who found this completely reasonable. I pulled out my medical scanner and pointed it at Kael Morrow with a kind of professional desperation. His lung was holding. His heart lining, which I had spent 40 minutes carefully repairing, was showing early signs of new tissue. Not scar tissue. Not healing scar tissue. New, healthy, functioning tissue already beginning to form around the repair. I had been practicing medicine for 31 cycles. I had never seen anything regenerate that fast. I turned the scanner off. Then I turned it back on because I thought it was malfunctioning. The readings were the same. "Your body," I said carefully, "is already healing." "Yeah," he said, "I tend to do that." He paused. "Sorry about the locks. I can fix them if you want. Your encryption sequencing is a little outdated." I stood there in the middle of the bridge of my hospital ship, holding my scanner, looking at a human in a hospital gown who had bypassed 3 security systems, eaten 5 ration packs, and was currently offering to improve our cybersecurity after surviving a wound that should have killed him 3 separate times. And I thought, very quietly, to myself, I need to call someone about this. But before I could reach for my communicator, Kael Morrow looked out the viewport at the Cassavane Nebula, and something shifted in his face. The easy smile stayed, but behind it, something else moved. Something careful. Something watching. "That ship I was on," he said, quietly, "it wasn't mine." The bridge went very still. "I need to know," he said, "how long I was out." And suddenly, the laughing stopped. The Bridge of Meridian's grace had a particular kind of silence when things turned serious. It was not the comfortable silence of a quiet shift. It was the kind of silence where every person in the room suddenly became very aware of where the exits were. Dren Oka, who moments ago had been laughing like Kael Morrow was his favorite person in the known galaxy, sat up straight in his pilot's seat and said nothing. His 4 fingers rested flat on the console. Still. Careful. Fira stood beside me with her arms crossed, and I could see her threat assessment instincts kicking in. She was Veresi. Her species had survived 3 extinction-level events through a combination of intelligence and extreme suspicion of anything that smiled too easily. Right now, she was staring at Kael Morrow with the full force of that suspicion. I was the one who spoke first. "You were unconscious for approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes, I said. "That is how long you were under our care." Kael Morrow did not look relieved. He looked like a man doing fast, private mathematics in his head, and not enjoying the answers. And before that, he said, before you found me. How long was I drifting? I pulled up the recovery log on my wrist panel. The vessel was detected at the edge of the Cassavane Nebula. Based on its trajectory and drift speed, our navigator estimated it had been adrift for, approximately 9 standard days. Kael closed his eyes. Just for a second. Then he opened them, and whatever softness had been in his face before was gone. Not replaced by panic. Not replaced by anger. Replaced by something much quieter and much more dangerous. The kind of focus that does not arrive quickly. The kind that has been living inside a person for a very long time, waiting. 9 days, he said. Yes. He turned back to the viewport. Then they already moved it. Fira uncrossed her arms. Moved what? He did not answer immediately. He looked at the nebula for a long moment, and then he said, in a voice that was almost conversational, you know what Cassavane is famous for? Scientifically speaking? Nobody answered, so I did. Electromagnetic interference. Sensor dead zones. Ships lose long-range communication passing through it. Right, he said. Which makes it a very convenient place to do things you do not want anyone to see. He turned around fully and looked at us. That ship was not mine. I boarded it. I found what was inside it. And then whoever owned it found me. Fira said, flatly, what was inside it? He looked at her for a moment. Then he looked at me. Then he looked at Dren. He seemed to be measuring something, running some internal calculation about trust, about risk, about how much to say and to whom. Then he reached into the front pocket of his hospital gown, and I want to pause here to note that I have no idea when he found time to put anything in that pocket, and he placed a small data chip on the edge of the navigation console. It was no bigger than my thumbnail. It was scratched. It had what appeared to be dried blood on one corner. Dren looked at it. What is that? Evidence, Kael said simply. Of a trafficking route. Running through Cassavane. Using the sensor dead zones to move cargo without Union detection. He paused. Except the cargo is not goods. The bridge went quiet again. A different kind of quiet this time. I looked at the chip. I looked at him. People, I said. 43 of them, he said. Mostly non-human. Mostly species whose disappearances do not generate a lot of official attention. He said it without emotion, but his jaw tightened slightly on the last word. I have been tracking this operation for 11 months. That ship was one of their transit vessels. I got on board, pulled the route data, and then 3 of their security personnel introduced themselves to me and a hull fragment introduced itself to my chest. Fira said, quietly, and you survived. Apparently that is something I do, he said, with a ghost of the earlier smile. Irritating people. Surviving things. It is a short list but I commit to it fully. I picked up the data chip carefully. It was warm. Whatever was on it, it had been kept close to his body the entire time, through the drift, through the surgery, through the sedative that did not work. This needs to go to Union Command, I said. Yes, he agreed. It also needs to go to the right person at Union Command. Because whoever operates this route has been doing it for at least 3 years without interference. He looked at me steadily. That does not happen without help from inside. The implications of that sentence settled over the bridge like something heavy dropping from a great height. Dren said, slowly, you are telling us someone in Union Command is protecting this operation. I am telling you it is possible, Kael said. I am telling you to be careful. And I am telling you that the moment that chip connects to any standard Union communication network, whoever is protecting this route will know it exists. I turned the chip over in my fingers. 31 cycles of medicine. 31 cycles of treating patients and following protocols and trusting the systems I worked within. And now I was standing on my own bridge, holding evidence of a trafficking operation, being told by a human in a hospital gown that the systems I trusted might have holes in them shaped exactly like this. I looked at Fira. She looked at me. She said, in a very dry voice, "I told you we should have logged him and moved on." And despite everything, despite the weight of what was sitting in my palm, despite the very real possibility that our next communication could alert people we absolutely did not want alerted, I almost laughed. Almost. Kael Morrow was watching us both. "I know this is a lot to put on a medical crew," he said, and for the first time since he had walked onto my bridge uninvited, his voice carried something that sounded like genuine consideration. Not apology, exactly. But acknowledgement. "You were just trying to do your jobs." "We were," I said. "And now?" He straightened up. The hospital gown was ridiculous. The bandaging on his arm was already showing faint signs of the accelerated healing I had scanned earlier. His expression was calm in a way that suggested calmness was a tool he had learned to carry, not a feeling that came naturally. "Now," he said, "we need a communication channel that cannot be traced back to this ship. We need to reach someone specific. Someone I trust." Dren turned back to his console without being asked. His hands moved. "I know 3 unregistered relay channels. Old ones. The Union stopped monitoring them about 6 years ago. They still work." Kael looked at him. Something passed between them. "You have done this before," he said. Dren said nothing. But he did not deny it either. I placed the data chip on the console beside Dren. "Send it," I said. Fira made a sound. A very specific sound that translated roughly as, "I have reservations about this entire situation but I recognize we are already committed." Then she pulled up the ship's perimeter sensors on the secondary screen and started watching the space around Meridian's Grace with the quiet intensity of someone who has decided that if anything was coming, she wanted to see it first. The transmission took 4 minutes and 11 seconds. For 4 minutes and 11 seconds, nobody on that bridge made a sound. When the confirmation signal came back, Kael let out a breath. A long, slow breath, like a man setting down something he had been carrying for 11 months across dead zones and through hull fragments and through sedatives that could not keep him down. He looked out at the nebula one more time. Then he turned around and said, to nobody in particular, "Is there any food left? I am serious. I need at least 3 more ration packs." Fira stared at him. Then she turned, walked off the bridge, and came back 90 seconds later with 6 ration packs stacked in her arms. She dropped them on the console in front of him without a word. He picked one up, tore it open, and said, genuinely, "Thank you." She sat down across from him, crossed her arms again, and said, "You are going to explain everything. From the beginning. All 11 months. He nodded. He chewed. He swallowed. "Yeah," he said. "I figured." And outside the viewport, the Cassavane Nebula drifted on, quietly, the way beautiful things sometimes do when they are hiding something terrible inside them. Friends, if you are enjoying our videos and want to watch new and exciting sci-fi and HFY stories every day, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our latest uploads. Like the video and share it with your friends as well, so our community can continue to grow and bring you even more amazing content.